And the message today is titled Worshiping Satan for Free. Yes, Halloween is Satan's holiday. So I don't talk about this one much because if you've read the Bible or spent any time in any church, any Christian church whatsoever, you should just know that Halloween is not something to be associated with. It's something that's completely opposite of the faith of Abraham, of Isaac, of Jacob, of the New Testament. I mean, even if you only read the New Testament, you know that this is a day of evil. It has nothing to do with the Bible and is directly opposed to it. Dressing up like vampires, werewolves, demons, murderers, and threatening to prank people if they don't give you candy is simply not behavior that the Bible would sanction at any time of the year, let alone on Satan's birthday. So the other thing to consider here is when this holiday is observed by Christian parents. So if you're a Christian household and you let your kids do this, do you know what you're telling your kids? You're telling them that they could just put their faith aside at a moment, that it doesn't matter, that basically going to church every Sunday, it's the wrong day, you should be going on the Sabbath, but going to church is just a hobby. And that it's just something that you do, that it doesn't have any meaning to it whatsoever. If you can put it on pause in order to observe an annual satanic ritual. So in Luke 4, 5 through 8, we're going to take a look at the seriousness of this right now. And he led him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world at the moment of time. This is Satan tempting the Messiah. And the devil said to him, I will give you all this domain and its glory, for it has been handed over to me, and I give it to whoever I want. Therefore, if you worship before me, it shall all be yours. Yeshua replied to him, it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Halloween's history is known, it is absolute, it is true, and it is traced back over 2,000 years to Celts, to people in Northern Europe who worshipped evil spirits. And they had these practices of trick-or-treating and lighting fires in a specific way and bonfires all on October 31st, all in order to honor the dead or keep spirits away. It's a completely satanic observance. It is not, it just is what it is. And when you see pagan faiths and you trace back pagan faiths to where they originate, it's almost always in a satanic fashion. It almost somehow ties back to the worshiping of the false gods of Baal and Ashtoreth and the false gods of antiquity, which are demonic entities under the control of Lucifer himself. Halloween was melded into Christianity over hundreds of years. What happened was that Rome conquered the Celts right about the turn of the millennium, and then 600 years later, when Rome became Christian, in air quotes, they weren't really Christian, they were just going around trying to make a universal religion, which is what the word Catholic stands for. They wanted to make a universal religion that was based on the faith of the Bible, but it accommodated everybody. So then the Roman Catholic bishops and teachers actually tried to do the right thing with this one. Even they could see that this was Satan's holiday. So they tried to make up a new day called All Saints' Day on November the 1st, November the 2nd, and transfer all of these rituals, because that's what they are, folks. They are rituals, over to All Saints' Day. And they ended up failing. What ended up happening is that the Celts didn't ever give up their pagan ways. They brought them to the United States in the 1800s, and they ended up having, All Souls Day is what they ended up calling it, and then All Saints Day the next day. They just keep making up more and more stuff. But the reason I bring that up is that at least they tried to do something about this day. Today's ministers aren't doing a thing. They're actually celebrating it in the parking lots of their own churches. It's absolutely preposterous. So if you want the history of this day, I put the link here at the bottom of this page, but history.com has a history of Halloween that's pretty cinchy to understand. So we go back to Luke 4:8, and it says, Yeshua replied to him, it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Well, that comes from Deuteronomy 6:13, which is right after the prayer we call the Shema. Deuteronomy 6:13 says, you shall fear Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall worship him and swear by his name. And it includes the word only. So Yeshua's response to Satan that when he was being tempted is that worship is restricted to Yahweh only, and in the manner he chooses and in the time he chooses, which is what we do, which is what we just got back from doing it. We just got back from celebrating the real fall festival called Feast of Tabernacles or Sukkot. See, these copies, Satan always wants to copy. He wants to steal the worship. This is what he was trying to get Yeshua to worship him, because he's always trying to steal the worship. So he makes up holidays with his own practices roundabout the same time of God's practices. Now, to be fair, societies do have some activities that look religious and are not, like the 4th of July, for instance. That's a day when this entire land gets together and has a barbecue and shoots off fireworks to celebrate our independence from the British. That is not a religious holiday at all. And it's up to each person whether they want to participate or whether they don't, for religious reasons or not religious reasons. It's not a religious holiday, but it does look like one because everybody stops what they're doing and does the same exact thing. We also have the same activity with certain sporting events in the country. But Halloween is not one of these secular things. There is no way to pretend to be demons and steal candy to placate the spirits in a secular fashion. Halloween is a pagan religious observance. And if you have any affinity for the God of Abraham, of Isaac, of Jacob, for the God of Paul and Peter and Matthew and Bartholomew, if you have any affinity for that God whatsoever, you'll just stop doing it and give it up. And realize that our God is a jealous God. He does not tolerate blending at all. It's what he smote Israel for over and over and over, making up their own religious practices or adopting religious practices from the nations around them. The Shema says, "Hear, O Israel, Yahweh is our Elohim, Yahweh is Echad." We're one. You shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your strength. And when you're doing this, just as the Son of God did himself, you will then not find Halloween to be attractive or anything to be associated with whatsoever. So when Satan tempted the Messiah, he promised wealth and kingdoms for that worship. Today, believers aren't just worshiping Satan. Get a load of this. They're doing it for free. There was no temptation. There was no, if you observe my holiday, I'll do such and such for you. These people are just doing it because it looks fun. Brothers and sisters, take a stand. And whether you are a Sunday Christian, a Messianic believer, or even just a person who's searching for the truth, this one is not hard to figure it out. Not hard to figure out whatsoever. Have a blessed week. May Yahweh bless you and keep you in the name of his son, Yeshua.